Rounding a bend, the water drove him straight for the big stone. Pull, Buzz! A few inches less, and the world would have added Buzz Holmstrom to the long list of the river's victims.
In the late 1930s, audiences thrilled at this Academy Award-nominated film about Buzz Holmstrom, a boatman from Coquille, Oregon, who became the first person to boat 1,100 miles down the Green and Colorado rivers and through the Grand Canyon, alone and in a handmade wooden boat.
The speed becomes terrific. The boat is almost unmanageable. Rocks rear up from nowhere.
And yet today, few Oregonians have heard of Buzz Holmstrom.
People like Buzz represent the love of nature and the love of the outdoors.
Vince Welch is a longtime commercial river guide. Among professional river runners, the legend of Buzz is well known.
Hang on.
But here on the Grand Ronde River in northeast Oregon, guests are just getting introduced to a man who helped shape river running in the West.
Buzz Holmstrom was a unique individual, and he is part of this river. I first heard about Holmstrom when I was in the Grand Canyon, and as a boatman, when I learned that he had run the Grand Canyon alone in a handmade wooden boat, that had a great appeal to me.
And then I realized he was from Coquille, Oregon, and being from Oregon, I thought, well, this is my guy.
Vince and some friends were surprised to learn that Buzz's story had never been captured in a book. So they wrote one, and they rediscovered a man whose story once filled the pages of the national press, and who died mysteriously in 1946, here on the lonely banks of the Grand Ronde River.
This is Ronde. The Grand Ronde River comes in and meets the Wallowa.
A simple memorial near the junction of the Grand Ronde and Wallowa rivers marks where Buzz died under a shroud of mystery.
He died of a gunshot wound, apparent suicide according to the coroner, but no one in Coquille or his family believed it because it just didn't fit the Buzz they knew. How are you, June? Nice to see you.
While researching his book, Vince set out to find what really happened.
Boy, this is just a treasure chest.
This is the photograph that I think is so good.
Vince tracked down Buzz's niece, June Jennings, in Coquille. She said Uncle Buzz was the lone adventurer in a family of traditional loggers and farmers.
He kind of didn't worry too much about his clothes, did he?
No, I don't think he ever did. He was more interested in the doing of the thing.
Yeah, there you go.
June remembers Uncle Buzz as a happy guy.
So he just had that wanderlust.
Yeah.
You always have one in the family, don't you?
I didn't get any of it. I've been in this house for 53 years.
Buzz started life as a typical Coast Range kid. He worked the fields. He played football. So why did he think that he could be the first one to ever boat the Grand Canyon solo?
This was a lot of land for a small family.
Yeah.
June says Buzz and his brother may have earned their confidence as kids by basically managing the family farm themselves while their dad coped with illness.
I look at all these fields and I think of those two boys farming this,
Yeah.
planting and hoeing the corn. It's amazing that they could take care of this much.
Right.
But when Buzz and his brother weren't working, they had what we might call a free-range childhood with unlimited access to forests and mountains and fields.
I don't think this bridge was here for them. I think they just...
Middle Creek was a favorite childhood haunt for the boys.
So this would have been roaring.
In the wintertime, it'd probably be as high as the bridge.
Buzz and his brother were fearless, riding logs and careening down the flooded creek for miles.
We can't imagine it anymore. We look after our kids and we want them to be safe, and so we stay within our comfort zone. But when you come out here in the middle of the Coast Range, I think what it does is it expands your idea of what's possible. So this was as good as it was going to get for a couple of country boys. This became their world, their universe, and somehow Buzz took it to another level.
Other local boys from Coquille would eventually take up jobs in farming and logging, but not Buzz. He started designing boats modeled in part on the popular Rogue River and Mackenzie River drift boats of the time. At the age of 25, Buzz left Coquille to test his boat design on the rising waters of the Rogue River, alone.
He left in, I think it was November, on the Coast Range. You know, he's not really well equipped. There is no Patagonia with this guy. And he hit a rock. The boat tipped and floated away, and he was stuck there in his long johns and his cork vest.
But Buzz not only survived, he grew more confident. And at age 28, he turned his sights on the Grand Canyon. The thing to remember here is that in the 1930s, the Grand was almost exclusively run by massive, organized expeditions, often full of surveyors and workmen. Buzz set out to run it for fun, with just a few friends. But then his friends bailed on him.
He didn't intend to go by himself, and he wasn't promoting himself. He didn't have an agent. He just went and did it.
The boat Buzz built was a heavy wooden dory, almost exactly like this one, built by Vince's co-author, Brad Dimmick. The design is strong but breakable, and one mistake could have destroyed Buzz's boat and quite probably killed him.
Was he stubborn, or was he just going, okay, what the hell, I can't turn back now, I built a boat? We don't know. When you think about it, I mean, I wouldn't do that. That sounds scary to me.
But Buzz succeeded in doing something that no one else had.
Buzz was now a Superman with superhuman strength. He defied the river to do its worst. He was master. He was stronger than the river.
Yet after all the national fame, the fan letters, the press, Buzz returned to quiet Coquille to work at a gas station.
Well, this is the old Standard Station here in the center of Coquille. This is where Buzz worked from high school throughout his life.
After the Grand, returning to small-town life was a jarring change of pace.
I mean, he was a hero. It was a big, big deal.
But what triggered Buzz's apparent suicide? Was Buzz bored by life back in Coquille? Was he hurt by a woman he dated? Did he fear failure when he was hired to navigate the flooded Grand Ronde and struggled to pull it off? Or was Buzz, whose real name was Haldene, murdered, as some have suggested? But even after years of research, Vince never got much closer to an answer.
It doesn't really matter, but it lends something to the story, a tragic kind of element to it, that this guy who did this incredible thing would do that, take his life.
Water filled the cockpit. Waves tried to tear him out of his boat, but on and
Vince
on
says
the
Buzz
storm
left a legacy that reminds river lovers of what real adventure can be. Buzz's dangerous solo journey down the Grand Canyon is nothing like the safely packaged commercial experiences that most people experience on rivers today.
What happened there on the banks of the Grand Ronde at Ronde?
Buzz took risks, fended for himself, and found pure adventure in the way of a true Oregon pioneer.
We felt it was a great story about Grand Canyon and about what boating's really about. He had his beans and his bacon and his coffee and his grubby clothes, and to us he was the real thing.